Okay, good.
All right.
Good. Okay, so we can let everybody in.
Shut this off. You saw my text message and you saw the email.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to
Quickly
remove.
dropped her from the website. I took it off. It's in our agenda right now still, but that's okay.
It's okay. That's okay.
Stuck her in italics and oh, everybody's so nice and prompt.
Yeah.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Hi, Manly.
Morning. Hi.
Hi,
how you doing?
Fiorenza.
Hello.
Hi, Janine.
Morning.
Hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right.
This is the most on-time group. We'll be on time. Don't worry.
And that's because it's women. That's why.
Totally.
Don't you agree? So we're just missing who? Who we're missing? Claire?
I'm hoping Claire can get on. Also, we've got from the ambassador's office, we're gonna have Nina. Oh, here she is. Nina's in the waiting room. Let her in. There she is.
Good morning, Nina.
And Amber. Oh, here's Claire.
That's great.
Do we think Amber is gonna come from Space Smith?
She accepted it. And,
okay, great.
And
Isabel, we know cannot make it, which is we're recording this, you guys. We probably otherwise wouldn't have, but we're doing it so that those who can't be here can do a quick review. Hi, Claire.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. I hope you're having fun wherever you are skiing.
Well, we are, but we're getting a late start. So actually we're in the middle of getting dressed. So
sorry.
I won't be on video.
That's okay. No problem. No problem.
And I may not stay that long.
Okay, that's not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever. So I think it's more for everybody to introduce each other, that they know who the speakers are, and then Janet will go through what she has on the agenda. All right. So Claire is our moderator. We're so happy to have her. All right, and we have a really good group. So let's take it from there. You want to introduce each other, or yourselves, or how do you want to do this?
Claire, we'll go. I'll shout it out. Claire, do you want to, especially because you're on a schedule, you want to jump in first and introduce yourself?
That sounds great. That sounds great. And again, I've somewhat looked at the backgrounds, but of course I know Isabel the best. And what I can tell you is that from the LACC point of view, my father was from Luxembourg. He was a very dedicated participant of the LACC. So I've actually been going to events since I think I was 12 years old. And so I'm very familiar with it. And then from my perspective, what I do after 20 years of career in cosmetics, I ended up starting a coaching and training practice in 2008. And so now I do a lot of front of the room coaching and speaking and training. So I guess that's partly why I'm a good fit for this panel.
Excellent. Thank you, Claire. Just going around the room, we can go in alphabetical order by last name. Fiorenza, that means you.
Yes, good morning. So my name is Fiorenza Cingolani. I am a lawyer at Elvinger Husprus, and I'm a senior associate there. I've been working with the firm for almost 8 years, and I've been in New York for a year, where I am spearheading the efforts on the corporate banking and financing side. So I started that department there. And if I can give a little bit of my personal background. So I am born and raised in Luxembourg, but I am half Costa Rican, half Italian. Actually, I'm now in Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
half Costa Rican, half Italian. And this is my first panel. So there you go.
Oh, excellent. We're so glad you can be on the panel. How about Janine? Next up, you want to jump in there?
Yes. My name is Janine Labouche. I'm originally from Germany, studied in Trier and landed in Luxembourg. I lived in Luxembourg for about 6-7 years. And part of the time I was going back and forth between New York and Luxembourg. Now I'm here permanently. I have been practicing law for about 12, 13 years. Right now, I'm in my current role as senior manager at Donna UN Partners, and we are a subsidiary or affiliate of EY Law and EY US. And then, yeah, what else? This will also be my very first panel. I have held speaking roles in similar functions, but not as part of the panel, and I look forward to participating. And
Wonderful,
Mhm.
wonderful. Amber, we're just going around the horn and introducing ourselves. Are you able to jump in there? I see you unmuted.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I'm a little sick.
Oh, sorry.
My name is Ambar Margarita, and I am a principal of interior design and architecture at Space Smith Architects in New York City. And I'm from Puerto Rico. I've been here 18 years. And that's it for now. Thanks for having me.
I will be quick. I'm sorry you're not feeling so well. Isabel would be alphabetically next, but Isabel can't join us, so we are recording this session. She can just quickly meet all of you on recording. So Manley, if you want to jump in next.
Sure. I am Monli Zarandian. I work for Aquarian. I work in sales based in New York. I've been with Aquarian for about 2 years. Well, actually, yes. End of this month's going to be 2 years. I have been working for BD in a BD capacity for about 6 years. But before that, I was an architect and I was living in San Francisco. So I did interior design. So there is an overlap with Amber or parallel. I'm originally Iranian with a tad of Russian. And I was born and raised in Tehran, have been in the US for 11 years. This is my second panel, and I'm excited to be part of this discussion. And I think I know Fiorenza, and we worked together before pretty well. And I know Janine pretty well. So that helps with the, discussion. And it's flow.
Excellent.
That's it for me. Yep.
Excellent. We have on the call also Nina. We can't see you, but I see that you're here. Nina is on and representing Ambassador Bittner's office. Can you say a quick hello to us, Nina? Although you're on mute, if you can hear us. Oh, are you there, Nina? Okay. Well, if you can speak up, pipe in later, we'd be happy to carve out a little moment to say hello to you. Okay, so in the interest of time, we wanted to just kind of get everybody in the room for a minute. We'll also ask probably that you come a few minutes early so we can do this again in person when we get there and just, get the introductions over with. So, and Claire will pipe in when you can or how you can. I mean, the theme is inclusion. There are some prompts that we have previously shared with you that come right from the International Women's Day website about inclusion. And we're going to lean into Claire's expertise to lead the group and to spark conversation. We envision this being a panel at the front of the room. I think all of you have definitely been to the Luxembourg House, so we're going to be up on the second floor. You'll be panelists at the front of the room. We will have likely Paul Steinmetz there, the Consul General, to open up the evening and introduce Ambassador Bittner, and then she will give her keynote address. Also, our president, Michel Frank, will be there, so he will say a few words either at the beginning or in closing at the end. So that's kind of the rough framework of how the evening's going to go. And then it's really, it'll be somewhat of an informal discussion with Claire leading you through, and we envision hearing from everybody for sure, but also, and you may want to, we can talk about this, you may want to go in a particular order, or it may be that you have different prompts and Claire can pull you in at different times throughout to make sure we get to hear all the different perspectives. And then we'll have open it up for Q&A. If you're comfortable with that, we would ask people in the audience if something sparks, something that you say is interesting, they want to comment, we would invite that generally. So that's kind of the overarching thing. And I want to then turn it over to, and Claire can lead, but before we go a little further, we just want to make sure everyone's comfortable with this 5 to 7 time frame. That's where we've put it for now. But work schedules, with all of that, is that going to work for people, or do we need to tweak that in any way?
It's fine for me.
I'm fine. Yep.
Okay.
That should be fine. Can you remind me the date again? March something?
March 27th.
Yeah, I have it in my calendar. Just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And
5 to 7. Okay.
perfect. We can leave it at that. Sorry, I'm just quickly checking the chat. Okay. Nina from the ambassador's office is having a little bit of Zoom trouble, so we're going to just press on without her, or with her listening in but not speaking. Claire, can you jump in here and talk about how you envision this going?
Yeah, I guess I almost have more questions than direction at this point. So I'm not really an expert in inclusion, but I also think that in many ways, Luxembourg, while we can be very, let's see, particular to our ways, by virtue of its being in the center and at the heart of, or, within the Benelux, which has been the heart of the formation of the EU, I think that would be a really interesting perspective. And just, I think, and, there's younger people than me on this call, so please jump in if you've had experience working in today's Luxembourg, but just the incredible cultural fluidity of Luxembourg and, financial capitals like it, bring in just so much talent from everywhere. And, I think it would be interesting from that perspective to talk about where, how do I say it, where inclusion is just about your ability to perform and be effective. And so I don't know if that's an interesting discourse. I'm really flexible to tweak it. Again, there's younger people than me on this call, and I'm not an expert in inclusion. So if there are interesting lines of discussion, I'm really open to it. Does that make sense? Is that enough structure? It's not much, but.
Hi, Claire. I think one really important thing to think about when we're thinking about inclusion is to start with ourselves and to recognize our own inherent biases based on how we've grown up, anything from our gender to our sexual orientation to our financial status to the country we're from, the languages we speak, our affiliations, whether they be religious or we play a certain kind of sport. So to me, inclusion starts with recognizing where we come from, and also then starting to understand that we have an inherent bias in the way that we view the world. And from there, once we are aware, or we will always have blind spots, but once we are aware, then we can start to feel more comfortable with people's differences. And that includes differences in way of life, religion, opinions, style, all of these things, and welcome those as a way to enrich and include in our businesses different ways of thinking, of solving problems, of approaching problems, etc. But yeah, to me, it starts with ourselves.
That is super, and thought-provoking in a really great way.
Yeah, and sorry, I was having trouble with the mute button. So, and this is exactly, I think, why I was asking for others on the call to chime in. It's because one of the things I'm learning about in my own work is that we're really facing a massive generational shift in how we see inclusion and diversity. And I think part of my question for this panel is that maybe my opening statement was something like almost quaint by comparison. We're in a very complex context right now where things are shifting massively. And as I think about some of the audience for this program, I think it's not that we're at risk, but I think we do have to be aware of how some in the audience might be, let's say, of the older generations, right? So the thinking might not be nearly as nuanced or complex as I think the topic warrants, right?
I mean, I think that, Claire, super valid, and oh, hey, there you are. And you're absolutely right. I think we're going to have a real, it'll be an interesting mix of men and women from different generations and lots of different cultures. But I think that's another reason why this panel is going to work so well, because we've got, kind of a really interesting representation across the panel. To tease these different concepts out, and sounds like bring some contemporary information to the table that we otherwise wouldn't have had.
Yeah, which I guess is also my way of saying that I really hope that that like I'll moderate, but I'd love for this to be a little bit more of a democratic situation where I'm not super duper controlling the narrative because I do think that it has to be, I'm not an expert in this, and I'm not, I also have my biases. So it's, I hope that we can do it as a little bit of a democratic thing,
Claire,
And-
can I mention something? I think that this is really great. All of you have really great. I loved what Amber said. Is there a way that you could also include, this is something that I would like to see, is each personal experience with inclusion? Did that, I mean, some of you are very young. Maybe you did not have any experience yet, or I bet you probably did. Can we include that into, the discussion? Because I think it's always great to hear what, you as a person have done or that you experience. I think, the audience will like that. So if you could include that into maybe a question or something for the panel, I think that really would be nice. My 2 cents.
Mhm. And I think, this is Monley, I think, no, I always like to start things with what does it even mean? So if we're talking about inclusion, diversity, what does it mean? As in what each panelist think it means. So we can have a diverse, different opinions and thoughts about what it means. And then, Tony, you put your hand up first, but then after that, maybe we can move into, okay, so this is what it means, but how each individual has experienced inclusion and diversity on a personal level, as in our lives, out of work, and also a corporate level. And how did that, inspired us? How did that help us? How did that make us better, I don't know, managers, people, employees, blah, 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 blah. And I also like to, learning from the greenwashing, I also like to talk about the other side of it, that when we're talking about diversity, inclusion, does it mean, I think it's part of, no, there's like some parallels with the first question, but does it mean if we just have 3 women in a team and then have 3 men on a team, are we diverse? Is that what it means, or no? And then how do we qualify people based on, if I'm hiring a person and the man has a better qualification than the woman, what am I going to do? These are like real life situations, right? That we encounter with. And then how can we prepare to, because in that case, when you dive into it, then you realize that you have a lot of men who have better education, or they've been put in better positions, so they're more available. So what can we do about that? How to solve that solution? And yeah, that is my two cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so complex. And I realize, I'm only starting to realize based on some of the feedback I've gotten recently is that while I have an experience where I can talk to what is your name? Manlis? No.
Monly. Yeah.
Monley, sorry.
Yeah.
The where I can barely see the names on my phone. Monley was saying, and Ambar, is that that I can talk about experiences I've had as a woman in business where things like, it's easy to say that I'm only paid 74 cents on the dollar, but I've always been in scenarios where the men just weren't higher positions. And why is that, right? So I can talk about that. But as a white woman, what's not as easy for me and European descended white woman is that there's a lot about the inclusion of people of color and people of cultural origins not the same as mine that is not at all my experience. And so we get into like such a complexity, right? Where you have some people who already feel at a disadvantage and yet they're not fully embracing other disadvantages that they don't experience. And so I think I love this idea of starting out with defining what we think diversity is inclusion is and what it means in different groups. And then also talking each about our individual experience, because I think it is so different. So I love those two as starting points. Did I lose everybody?
Nope. I'm wanting the other people to pipe in, but I will pipe in for a minute. And that is, as far as, especially for the people who this is the first time being on a panel, I think having a little takeaway from this gathering of things that they want to be prepared, like have in their back pocket, notes, talking points, things they want to remember to insert either when they introduce themselves or when the discussion starts to go in that direction. So from the way this is shaping up, Claire or others, if you would speak to the idea of what people should have in their back pocket, kind of ready to go from a, discussion points.
So I love that question because it brings up for me something kind of foundational in public speaking, which is the women I work with, I'll just say this because it's super quick. The people who train me in public speaking, they have something called the AIM method, AIM, and it's analyze your audience, identify your intent, and make the most of your message. So I think we probably should, the more we know, Janet and Tony, about who's going to be in the audience, what, particularly generationally, but broadly speaking, who's going to be in the audience, and the more information we can get about that beforehand, the better. But this identify your intent, like basically as a group, and it may differ individually, but the question is, what do we want our audience to think, know, feel, or do as a result of this event, this communication? So really, what do we want them to go away with? And that would be like the 2 or 3 things we really want them to go away with. And maybe we each choose one thing, or maybe we collectively as a group choose 2 to 3 messages that we think we really want them to get.
And what was the last one?
Oh, make the most of your message. That's about like different techniques. I'm happy to do a public speaking lesson, but there are technical aspects of making the most of your message, which is, how we present ourselves. Something as silly, you're all going to laugh maybe, or maybe roll your eyes, but too often I've seen women panels where they show up in a short skirt and then, we end up sitting on an elevated stage and nobody can concentrate on what we're saying because they're trying to figure out, how they can look up our legs to be, I don't want to be vulgar, but that's actually a distraction. So thinking about what we're wearing, making sure there aren't things that are going to distract the audience. But more importantly than that, clustering our communication, having an opening and a conclusion that people will remember, right? It's sort of like recency, and then the things we're going to repeat throughout, so that those become really hammered in. Sometimes when it comes to public speaking, less is more. And if you prepare and you have these messages really well articulated, it can be very powerful.
Nina, we can see you now, which is great. You're muted. Can we hear you? We think?
Good morning, everyone.
Yes. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I apologize. I had a little issues with Zoom this morning. Let me introduce. My name is Nina. I'm a public affairs officer at the Embassy of Luxembourg in Washington, D.C. Ambassador Bintner is on her trip to Europe this week, so fortunately she won't be able to join us today, but I'll be here on her behalf. So first of all, I have one question for the topic. When we talk about inclusion, do we mean inclusion in general or inclusion of women? So just to make a difference, it's going to be very important for Ambassador to prepare her for her. She's gonna be a keynote speaker, so it's gonna be important to just to make sure what we're gonna talk about for the start, and then if we celebrate International Women Month and the event is mainly about women, so are we going to talk how we going to support each other? So it's a power that we have and we can't expect from men to do that on our behalf. So how are we going to send a message to other women, to girls, from our experiences, from our personal experiences, and what we went through to get certain positions at the society? So are we going to talk about that or not? So just to make sure. Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I was thinking that we're gonna start from general inclusion, because then we're gonna be exclusively inclusive, that we just want to talk about women. That reminds me of San Francisco. I don't like some, I think my personal opinion is that let's start with inclusion, diversity in general, and then we dive into women, and then at this, when we said personal level, corporate level, or the experiences that we had. And I think that's a great point to have, how we can help each other, and things like mentorship, how we can have somewhere under our wing, or the great mentors that we had in our lives that were women or men, and how men helped us be part of the part of the deal. So that's my thinking.
Yeah, I also love that everything we're saying today is so rich. It's like every single question or perspective is so rich. And this is also one of the big issues, is that it seems like so much of the efforts towards diversity, inclusion, equity are often driven by either women or underrepresented minorities. And it doesn't create, it becomes, it's not that it's questionable, it's not at all, but it becomes like, we don't want to be in our own echo chamber. So if we were really being like, I don't want to say brave, but if we were really being bold here, we would have like a white male, right, on the panel to talk about the perspective of the mandate to incorporate these like change that's happening, and how it's difficult for the people, the traditional power structure, to let go and redistribute, look forward. But that without them, we don't have much chance. So I don't know that, but
I
that would,
agree. I feel bad for the man who's going to be there with 5 or 6 of us,
but it's
but
also,
yes, I
I
agree.
think, yeah, I think one of the things that's really interesting and that Manly just said is that we want, it sounds like one of the things we want people to feel is not, and I don't, like we're talking just loosely today. I hope it's okay. I'm going to use this language, but that we're not like 6 angry women venting, right? But that we actually are interested in a discourse that builds a bridge so that we can engage with the people and not have it be something that they tolerate, but that we actually invite them to understand. And that would be meaningful. So I think the idea of talking about mentors, both male and female, very powerful, as a way to begin that feeling.
Should we have a man on the panel?
Jalissas Mark van Rijkenburgse from Apex. He likes that kind of stuff.
I'm
That's
serious.
serious.
I agree.
serious.
I agree.
I'm
What if-
serious.
yeah.
Should we have, unfortunately, Beatrice is not going to be part of it, but we could include a man. I think that would be, why
I
not?
think that's a stronger message than all women, because I totally agree. That's why I said I don't like to be exclusively inclusive, because then we just know we are in our own bubble and we don't count other people. I think, men are part of the war that we're dealing with. I like that fact. I've had amazing men that were my mentors, and I've had horrible women that were my mentors, and vice versa. So
Mhm.
I think if we be realistic about it, and then it's going to be much more of an interesting, engaging discussion. But
And
that's just
what if we did a model so similar to that, but we just tweak it a little bit? You know how like after the president does the State of the Union address, then whatever the opposing party is does like a recap, which is always very adversarial. So let's take out the adversarial piece, but it could be interesting to have 2 men who are sitting in the audience who are, we've pre-fed them the questions and the narrative, and they've started to develop some responses, right? So they wouldn't necessarily be on the panel, or they could be on the panel. It depends what we want to do, but this sounds very exciting to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love it.
We could have a plant. We could plant them in the audience.
And I'm also happy to be the voice of my generation, because I got to tell you, I always thought I was, I don't know, rightly or wrongly, I thought I was pretty modern and inclusive in my nature, but it turns out, even with all my training, I've been doing things lately that are not sitting well with people. And it's really heartbreaking. The WAM experiences, it was just truly heartbreak that things I could be doing unbeknownst to me are offending. And it's like this conversation is moving so fast, and it is so different for people under 40 and even under 30 that it's like hard to even it's like it has to be like
I'm
that
sorry, I'm
Heineken
laughing,
beer.
but I know what you're saying.
You know exactly what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, I have someone working for me who's Indian. And, my brother, here's a perfect example. When we came to the United States, my brother's name was Francois. And, that was his problem. He had to deal with it. That was his cross to bear, that he had a funny French name that nobody knew and nobody could pronounce. Nowadays, this Indian woman who's working for me, she becomes enraged when people don't say her name properly. And she sees that it's their responsibility. And that is a shift, and it's a shift that becomes emotional, because my brother, I had to watch him live with that for 50 years. And so I feel in some ways like, get over yourself, right? But I also recognize that for her, it's really hard to not be seen, right? And so these things, not only are they changing fast, but there is emotional attachment on all sides. So, it feels unfair to me that my brother had to struggle in that way. but I also completely understand my colleagues' experience, right? So anyway, and there are like a million little things like that. And it's becoming so difficult to, whew. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry, I got emotionally sidetracked there, right?
No
But
worries.
these are you know, this is what this is like when boots on the ground, this is what happens.
Do we
If I
have
may chime in, I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, just as I was looking, I feel like the theme is really wide and sort of open, but as I feel as we talk, more questions arise than answers. But as I was looking at the bullet points for the preparation, so we're talking about recruiting, retaining, and developing female talent, supporting women into leadership, etc. And I think that it's a different discourse if we're talking about sort of the US, New York, or even Luxembourg in Europe, or if you're looking at underdeveloped countries or developing countries, rather, to say it better. So it's not the same to talk about how to get women into leadership in New York versus get women into leadership in, I don't know, Bangladesh, to just say an example. So I think that's also something that we might have to touch upon, even though it's so broad that we can't go into details because we only have 2 hours. But I think it's also important to touch upon it.
Good point.
And then speaking of time, Tony, so 2 hours is the whole event, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So, and then the 2 hours for each of us is 5 to 7?
We really haven't discussed that with Claire, okay? And Janet and I have not really, but the way it usually works, I think you've been there for our event. You know, people come in, they have a drink, then we go upstairs and get everybody together, and you know, and then like Janet went through it, you know, we'll have probably Paul Steinmetz or Michelle introduce the ambassador. The ambassador will have at least 5 minutes speaking on a keynote speech. 5 to 10, we'll probably give her that. And then the rest is ours, but I would like to leave some time also for
Q&A.
networking afterwards, you know?
Okay.
So I think we really need to now to come to all around here, Claire and Janet. I'm fine to invite Mark, all right? And I could go to him and ask him. I think it would be really great to have a man there.
Yeah.
We did not do that last year. And
Yeah.
if it's not Mark, I'm thinking of somebody else that is pretty new and now 2 other people. And I think you guys might know them. So I didn't even talk to Janet because we're just all going through. The 2 I'm thinking would be Michael Ayachi from KPMG.
Yeah.
That's another one. All right. Or one of our new members, which is Oysin from
Waystone. I was thinking the same thing.
All right. So those would be 3 really unique men that we could engage. And I think that really would be unique for us. And I really like what Fiorenza said, what all of you have said. And Claire, I know will do a great job, but I also want Nina, first of all, did we answer your question? Because you had a couple questions there. And I think it's great that, you know, you start out with, like you said, what does it mean, you know, to you, what inclusion means? And is it, you know, but everyone has something so special. You're all international, right? And you bring, that's something for you to think about, that you bring something with you. So what is that inside? How do you, when you hear about that even, how does it make you feel? So that's where all of this is going to come out. Your experience, what did that help or hurt your experience to include people, not include people? Like Manly said, working with women, sometimes it's more difficult than working with men. How do we support each other? I mean, there's so much that can be, and each one of you will have so much to give. with your own experience, could be young experience or whatever. So this will be great, whatever you guys are gonna say. Think that way.
Yes, absolutely. You answered my question. So that's why we agree that Ambassador Bittner would be a great keynote speaker, knowing that she lived in different continents. So living and studying in Europe, then moving to Asia, then from Asia to Africa, from Africa to United States. So it would be great to hear her personal experience. Yeah, thank you.
You are right, Nina. I've done that and I know how it is to live in different parts of the world and being a woman, always surrounded by men. But I was very fortunate. Everyone thought I was a man. So the name Tony, always they think I'm a guy. So until they meet you. But I think you guys are on the right track. You know, it'll be a really great event. So we all agree to have a man be included. Claire, as a moderator, what do you think? Janet, I know you said yes.
Yeah, that's fine with me. And also I think I might go out of reception pretty quickly. So the man is fine. The 5 to 7 p.m. is fine. I guess my only request is that we would leave maybe like 20-minute, leave a little bit of flexibility at the end so that we don't have to cut off too sharply. We don't want to go on and get boring, but if the conversation becomes really robust, it would be nice to have the flexibility to continue a little bit after the allotted time, Yeah.
So maybe, Janet, let's change it from 5 to 7:30.
Okay.
What do we think? It's a little extra half hour for you guys to network and really chat with each other. And, I think that really would be nice.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And then as a next step, after this call, I know everybody had their own opinions and the bullet points that they want to talk about. Maybe we can share in writing, like these are the things I want to have, and then so we can collect all the talking points and then agree on perhaps 4 or 5, and then if we have extra time, we're going to cover more. So that's going to make it, I think, easier.
And I'm happy to work on that with Janet, like gathering, and I'm just going to try to find themes that make the most sense so that we try to include the biggest points, and we have a really sharp, it doesn't have to be sharp, but something focused to take away.
Like a blueprint, it's a blueprint for the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And as the ambassador's remarks come together, Nina, if there are any bullets that you can share to make sure that we work those through as themes, if it makes sense. I don't know what her timing is, and yeah, if there's anything there that makes sense to share in advance, we would welcome it.
Definitely. I will need to wait for her to come back and talk more about what I heard today, and then from there we'll go ahead.
Excellent. And just 2 quick housekeeping type things. One is we'll be promoting this via LinkedIn, and I'm connected, I think, with many of you, but if I'm not, you'll be getting a connection invite so I can tag you as a speaker at the event, and then hope that you might push it out to your networks as however it makes sense. Everybody, please bring a guest. The way we have it set up is your first guest is complimentary. It's complimentary for all LACC members for sure. But any guests who are not members are $20, and I can work through registering people or just be in touch with me how I can help. We can help fill the room with really good and interesting people. I think, Tony, that's all I have on my side. How about you?
I think it's great. Thank you everyone for all your time. I'm really excited, and I really like the idea of bringing a guy along.
Yeah.
I really do. I think this is really good. And I love the ideas to all of you put your thoughts down and what you think, like just what we went through it, and then let Janet and Claire go through it, and I'll review it and see that we're all on the same page. And this is going to be a great event. And we're so honored. Nina, please tell the ambassador we're really honored to have her there. This
Will
is,
do.
we're really excited and we'll fill the room. All right, so that's for sure. And of course, we'll have our
Thank you,
little
Tony.
snacks and
Thank
Clement.
you very much.
Thank you.
Really
everyone.
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Thank you,
everybody.
Tony.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.
You too.
Have fun skiing, Claire.